Hello and welcome to Screenchat. We chat to industry, film and television professionals about their experiences and wisdom. My special guest today is producer-writer Rochelle Humphrey, the creative director of Genetic Circus Productions. Her recent broadcast documentary credits with SBS NITV include The Urban Dreaming and Lady Lash. Rochelle has won several awards: Best Woman Filmmaker at the Canadian Diversity Film Festival, Best Short at Around Film's International Film Festival in Berlin and New Zealand. Currently, she is working on a TV drama series and a feature documentary. For more information, go to geneticcircusproductions.com. Hello, Rocky.
Hi, Marcella. I'm good. Crazy
Yes.
times.
I know,
But,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting times. But yeah, I'm good. Thanks, darling. I hope you're good too.
Yes, yeah, good as I can be, just trying to stay positive and
Yeah.
I understand that so much is going on for different people in different lives, and parts of the world are worse off than we are. So I'm just grateful that I'm healthy and my daughter's healthy too. Yeah. Most recently, you directed and produced the documentary called Lady Lash, which will air the 31st of August. Congratulations on SBS NITV. What is this film about?
Okay, so Lady Lash is a 30-minute documentary, and it's about Lady Lash, who is Crystal Klein, and she's an Aboriginal jazz hip hop artist with Greek heritage as well. And she's also a producer. So she produced the film with me, and we worked in a really close collaboration on every aspect of the film, of the documentary. And yeah, wow, it's just an amazing collaboration, and it was just such a awesome, film to be involved with. And it really grew organically. So that was the beauty of it. And, we approached it with, okay, we have not a cent, but we want to make this. And how can we get this made and do it the best we can? And I guess we just thought that just sometimes you just got to just do, like as filmmakers, and I'm sure that there's many other producers out there that just desperately want to just make and, maybe not think about like the heaviness of budgets and how you can get it out onto TV or how you can get it out to cinema and all of those other really quite big jobs associated with making a film. So it sort of started off with me asking Crystal Klein, who is a Lady Lash, if she'd be interested in a documentary about herself, with the one catch that she had to be quite involved in the process.
Yeah.
And she went, yeah, that sounds all right, Rocky. And and we took it from there. And 2 years later, or maybe 2.5 now, we're going on to NITV on the 31st of August at 8:30 p.m. And we are looking at other possibilities of distribution. And we are also going to be aired in Timor Leste on GMN TV. And Maori TV I'm currently considering, and Catalonian TV are currently considering.
I haven't heard of these
the
stations. Oh, wow.
Maori TV is in Aotearoa, so New Zealand. And I guess it's the equivalent to NITV. So NITV, National Indigenous TV in Australia, which is actually an arm of SBS. So our contract and all our negotiations have been with SBS, and they've been fantastic. Film Victoria came on board and gave us a small amount of money towards the end for post-production. And then we got the PEP, which is a Producers Equity Program through Screen Australia. And I'd suggest that to any producers to really look into, because it can really assist your budget.
And talking around like budget, that's really interesting to me. You mentioned that you didn't have any money. So how did you start the process of trying to raise funds for the film?
Well, look, it was very work intensive, and there was a lot of aspects to raising money. But so first of all, we started off with the Australian Cultural Fund, which is, it's set up to support the arts and culture in Australia in terms of creating funds. So it's a bit like a GoFundMe, but more aligned for, professional arts practice and arts practice. So we started off there just doing a quick 1 month money raiser so that we could get up to Sejuna. So that's where Crystal was born, and that's also Gugada country. And so we wanted to get up there so that we could go further into inland and film some of the really sort of special places and significant sites out there, and film Crystal connecting with her Nana Sue and with country, and just learning. So we got that money reasonably quickly through the Australian Cultural Foundation. Just bits and pieces. People donated $50, people donated $10, and everybody that donated, we were really grateful to, and we made that very clear. It wasn't about how much you donated; it was the thought of donating, which was really important to us. And I guess that gave us a bit of a rev too. It's just like, wow, there's all these people that really want us to do this.
Yes.
And that really made Crystal very, very excited and happy too, which was, incredibly. It was a beautiful thing to sort of watch, I guess, and be a part of. And then after that, we moved into Documentary Australia Foundation, which I highly recommend as a means of creating income for your documentary project. We can't always rely on state and federal funding. It's incredibly competitive. A lot of times, you sort of won't get looked at unless you've got at least 2 broadcast credits, which is pretty hard for emerging producers. And so I guess, it's finding those avenues to create money. But it's very work intensive, to be honest. But if you really want to make the film, you'll put that time and effort into a fairly good, solid, funding platform, and the energy and effort that goes towards that is immense. But I think it's worth it. So I think we raised over $70,000 through Documentary Australia Foundation.
Wow.
So we started to discover that there were actually a lot of people that really wanted us to make this film, and that was incredibly exciting for us. And it was certainly really exciting for Crystal. This was the first time she had produced a film, though she's incredibly multi-talented. So moving into film, she originally came from radio, so she worked for SBS radio, and moving from that process of producing into film was fairly smooth for her. So
that's sensational. I mean, just listening to you say that, I just can imagine how hard that whole process would have been. What were the learnings through that?
Oh, look, if nobody is involved in film to make money, because we all know that the film industry in Australia is incredibly stretched. You have to be on top of the pile to really make money. And so for me, the real lesson, but I guess this is something that, I sort of guide my filmmaking on, is that you don't make a film about something unless you're really passionate about it, unless you've got something to say about that topic, or you're collaborating with people that, have got something to say about that topic and are a voice for those particular themes as well. So, Look, we were just a bit lucky, really, because there is luck involved in this process. But, you have to put a large amount of work in to get anywhere. And, I've certainly been putting work in for a long time. I think that if you're going to invest yourself in a film, be ready to give it everything. You have to give it everything. And then, and you've got to strategize. I mean, I think I'm getting a bit better at strategizing these days and working out, understanding the system a bit more, and how you can get a film out there. It's a complicated process. But, look, we're a bit lucky too. There's some great organisations out there that are really supportive of women filmmakers and people of colour and all sorts of different other diverse filmmakers. Just get out there and have a look at what could suit you and just push and don't stop. Just don't stop. Even when you're in distribution, it's almost like that's almost like the delivery of the film and the distribution of the film is almost a bigger task than making the film.
So did you have the distribution? Oh. Oh gosh. Okay, so did you have the distribution all set and ready before you made the film, or did you make the film and then have to go find the distribution?
So just circling back, so we didn't have any distribution sorted before the film.
Okay.
As we were making the film, we started making applications, and we made an application to everywhere. So we made an application to ABC, the NITV. We even spoke to Film Victoria in its very early stages, and nobody came on board. And, that was hard, but it also just made me and Krista more determined. We were just like, well, and I guess we were more determined because we both felt that there wasn't stories about women like Crystal. Like you just didn't see stories about a mother and a hip hop artist and an Aboriginal Greek woman on TV. You just don't see those sorts of films. And that's what made us more determined. As we were making it, we were realising that we were sort of making something that wasn't really out there.
Yeah.
And I guess, over time, those different people that said no to us started to realise what we were actually doing. And so we went back to them and we were persistent. We didn't actually let up. And as we were sort of moving through the project, we got on board an executive producer.
Okay.
Carmel McLoone, and she's a magic maker.
Carmel. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just.
I worked with her many, many years ago on some short films years and years ago.
Yeah. Carmel's just awesome, and so look, we were just really lucky that Carmel came on board. Because she sort of helped us. I go, I want to do this, I want to do this, and she helped us sort of through those processes. So we made an application to DAF and we got in, and that was the real big jump for us in terms of being able to get some sort of income to pay everybody, because I decided that it was really important that all our crew got paid and that Crystal got paid properly. If I didn't get paid on this, I didn't mind so much, because for me it was like, if I'm going to involve other people in my projects, they have to be paid. But we all ended up getting paid, and so that was pretty magical. But in terms of like how much work to how much pay we got, well,
the ratio doesn't really work out. Yes.
I don't know what the rate is, might be in the negative. But at least we got to offer out some money to people that had put time and energy into the project. We were lucky enough to have Stephen Robinson come in on editing at Blackfella Films. And he's a bit of a master. I think he's been editing for over 30 years. So it was pretty amazing working with him.
Yes.
And then we brought Luke Ketchell in. So he's a Torres Strait Islander who lives in Melbourne. And so we were trying to constantly involve whoever we could out of the community in the process, so that the idea was that we had to make sure a certain amount of money was going into the Aboriginal community, Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander community, in terms of how we made the film and in terms of who was in the film and, the overall outlook of the film. Because as you can see, I'm a white woman. I have no Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander ancestry. And so, look, that's tricky in terms of making films with people that are part of the community.
Yeah.
But I guess this sort of film just happened organically, and it wasn't about who I was or who Krista was. It was more about, like, let's just make this film and see what happens, So, and things evolved from that too, because prior to that I'd worked with the Wurundjeri Tribal Council, just documenting a few different projects and ceremonies. So they'd asked me in on those projects. And I guess the connection is that my children are, their dad is East Timorese, so, and I speak the Indigenous meeting language, Timor Leste, and so the Indigenous struggle all over the world connects, and I guess so me and the kids would go to protests in relation to Aboriginal deaths in custody, and all the other horrific things that the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community have to face.
Yes.
And the prejudice that they have to live with. So I guess that's sort of my connection point, really.
Yes. Because in 2013 you made a film called Empowering Change that you wrote and directed and produced about a Somalian woman, and that was, quite intense in regards to the women that were going and facing all of those issues and problems.
That project was actually came about by me reading a newspaper article about this amazing woman called Faduma, and I just found where she worked, like in the article, and I rang her up and went, Faduma, I don't know you, you don't know me, but I want to make a film about you. So I met with her and just fell in love with her straight away. She was just such an amazing, gorgeous, strong, incredible woman. And, it wasn't that we'd been living in Timor prior to that, and I returned back from Timor after the 206 crisis and, had a child and everything. And so, I had my own experiences of, difficulty, I guess, and, coming back, and I just wanted to be involved in storytelling. And anyway, so I asked for Faduma if she wanted to be involved in making a documentary, and I said, I've got no money, but, doesn't matter, let's just make something. And she said that she'd love to, and I started some of the other work that I'd done. So I had 3 documentaries that I'd made in Timor Leste that I showed her, and I showed her some of my academic work. So I'd done a master's in international relations with a specialisation in human rights and international law. And so I had a chapter in a book that I showed her, anyway, she said yes, and we started making the film. And then the organisation that she was working for came on board and gave us some money. So that was great. It was about her work in her community, and it was about, I guess Somaliland women's voice in Australia and how they see female circumcision and what were their concerns. And it was pretty remarkable. But it was a celebration of these women and their culture. It wasn't like a poor Diddum story by any means. They're just such strong, inspiring women. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for female filmmakers on exactly how you gain the trust of your subjects to actually speak about those certain topics? Because I'm sure it would have been really difficult to actually talk about.
Look, I'm really honest, and I put everything on the table. I go, and what do I want out of this? What, when I'm doing that initial discussion. And in terms of when I first met Faduma, I had a baby I was breastfeeding with me, I just, I don't know, like I just present myself as who I am and lay everything on the table. And also show them the sort of work that I'd done, so that they understand that, I'm coming from, a particular perspective, I guess.
Sure.
And speaking Indigenous language is, I guess, people realise that takes a lot of effort and time, and they can see that I'm open-minded, I guess. I think honesty is actually probably the core of that answer, Marcella, just to be really honest.
So just going back to the funding. So for this particular film, Empowering Change, how did you get funding for this one?
So Empowering Change was actually supported by Monash Health in the end, but that was a bit tricky because they had full ownership of it. So, it meant that I just didn't have any. I couldn't distribute it. I couldn't put it in film festivals. I could put it in their film festival. Like there was a film festival that they'd sort of been involved in, that Monash House was involved in, and it was screened in that festival. And I think it did a cinema circuit as well. But, I wasn't able to really put it out there. So it became a very in-house thing when we didn't approach it like that at all. It wasn't like a semi-advertising thing. It was actually just really a story about Faduma. So she ended up taking that film and using that film to connect with other communities all over Australia. So that was a great thing.
Oh, that's good.
I'm very glad that happened.
Yeah.
But I was really hoping that we could we could create some money for the organisation that she was involved in and, assist her in her process. But, we had no ownership over the film whatsoever. So that was a learning curve. When people sort of come on in and go, oh, we'll give you some money for that, questions need to be asked about copyright.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in your view, what are the most immediate obstacles for female filmmakers? And I know you've got many, but what are the most immediate?
Oh, look, it's about power structures, and we're in an industry. Film and TV is an industry that is white male dominated. And then there's a power structure ladder in that process. So it means that predominantly white males are making decisions about where funding is going, about policies, and about the entire film industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as we've seen, that does mean that the film industry is a particular beast. But, you know, in saying that, like, I think people of colour, women who have come from, you know, diverse backgrounds, you know, it's hard. It's a hard industry to get into. And, you know, but I mean, we can all help each other too. Like that's the best thing about, you know, in the film industry as a woman. Like I just find other women are really on board to give me a hand, and I'll give other women a hand when I can.
Yes.
You know, I think that we all have to sort of carry that in our processes to support each other. And, you know, sometimes it's hard, but, you know, we find our ways, and I think it's pretty important that we hold each other up, you know, the best way that we can.
Yeah.
And in terms of the hardest thing, funding's so hard. You know, the funding is the really difficult thing, because to make a living off filmmaking, it's particularly hard. But, you know, I think the field is slightly levelling out, so that's a bit exciting. I think things are changing a little, and I certainly hope that, you know, possibly, you know, there might be some industry policy change, which will mean that Australian content will change, so the percentage of Australian content on Australian TV and in cinemas will change and increase, which means that more Australian filmmakers will be able to cultivate their art and make film and be able to make a living off it. So I'm hoping that there will be some sort of structural sort of industry change in terms of policy.
Yeah, yeah. So why did you want to become a director, writer, producer, Rocky? That $1 million question. Why?
Look, sculpture was my major.
Yeah.
And so I studied sculpture, you know, and you know, I was in my 30s when I studied sculpture. I was always in a very artful environment. You know, I'd lived in, you know, shacks that people had built. I'd squatted in Melbourne and Europe. So I was always in a very creative atmosphere and a very DIY culture. So, you know, it was standard for there to be murals on the inside of our houses, and for sculpture to be everywhere, and for music to be playing constantly. And so I sort of was, you know, the squatting scene was, you know, really creative. So I sort of grew up in the squatting scene in Melbourne, and that was a wild place to grow up in. And so, you know, art and creativity is inside me. And in terms of moving into film, when I was doing performance, I was documenting it. So I started to sort of learn those processes back then.
Okay.
In 98. And so the first time I had, you know, Final Cut 7, I think it was, started learning that in, I think it was 99. So, you know, look, I'd always played with sound and you know, sound and vision in my work. And then when I went to Timor, I just ended up filming when the country fell into crisis and the police and military formed into two opposing factions. I just thought, I've got to film what's happening here, and I've got to film how people are responding. And because I knew Teton, I could also translate. So I had a perspective that I really wanted to share And so the camera just became like security and like a way of like, you know, telling a story that wasn't being told. And then after I got back from Timor, I was pregnant with my son, Daylolly. And then, you know, I just started when I think Daylolly was like 1.5 or something. And that's when I did Empowering Change. So, you know, the process of becoming a writer, director, producer, or whatever, it just actually happened. It wasn't anything that I went, well, I'm going to do this, you know. I never went to film school. You know, it's all pretty much self-taught.
Wow. That's incredible.
Not really, Marcella. Most filmmakers are self-taught. Like, yeah.
I think it's incredible. I think, you know, it's you know, that mindset of just being creative and actually taking the action is really difficult for some people. So they think about it, procrastinate. The people that, you know, that are perfectionists, they procrastinate over so much. So I think it is incredible, and I think, you know, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
That's all right.
All right, I'll take that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I think that, you know, I think that what really drives most filmmakers, whether you're a producer or a writer or a director or a cinematographer or whatever, I think that it's passion to tell a story, and it's being in love with getting that image right, like just that love of just like going, oh my God, it's gold, you know, when you're in, you know, when you've set up a shoot and it's taken a long time and you're there and you're filming and you just know at one certain moment that you've actually grabbed there's gold there. It's like this beauty that is like nothing else. And, you know, I live for that, and I know many other people that do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what drives us, you know, just being creative and passionate about what we do. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So now, after this film, that will be on the 31st of August, Lady Lash, do you have any other projects that you're creating at the moment?
So at the moment we've got a project, Native Title Rockets, The Right to Say No. And that's in pre-production. That's a feature documentary. I've been invited by Annie Sue Coleman Hasseldine, a senior Gugada elder, to come and work with her on that documentary. And I'll also be working with Bessie May Hasseldine, who is a writer-director, and she's a Gugada woman. And Crystal Klein will also produce on that project. So we've got that to go. And we're working with a 3D animator called David Nerlich. And so that will be a hybrid feature documentary.
Sorry, what does that mean? What's a hybrid feature what does that mean, hybrid?
So a hybrid is like a combination of different arts. So it won't be just sort of camera shot footage. There will be camera shot footage as well as 3D animation.
Oh, okay.
And so we've got that project going. So we're working on a sizzle reel for that project, supported by Creative Victoria to make that sizzle reel. So we're really grateful.
Wow.
And we have got so Wurundjeri Buggerook, which is translates into Wurundjeri Women. It's a short film on Wurundjeri Women Bring Back Ceremony. So I worked with Annie Diane Kerr, Annie Irene Morris, and Mandy Nicholson, a pretty amazing team of Wurundjeri women. So they asked me to come out and film them 2016.
Yes.
And so now we're in the editing process because we filmed 2 years of ceremony, and then 1 year it didn't happen, and then we were going to film another year, but things sort of changed. So now we're going into the editing process, and I'll be working with Luke Ketchell for that editing. So we're editing that, so that's in post-production.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also writing a TV series, and we'll be working with Kelly Lefevre on writing a TV series that's set in Timor Leste and Australia.
Amazing. Oh, it sounds so exciting.
Thank you. It's actually just all hard work.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, definitely. Oh, well, I will have to thank you so much, Rocky, for joining me today.
Thanks, Marcella. Thanks for your for wanting to interview me. Yeah, it's nice, you know. And good luck with Screenchat. What an amazing program you're doing. It's just awesome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, wow. Everybody, good luck with your practice, and stay safe and stay well. And, you know, anybody that doesn't know, we're in like a 6-week lockdown at the moment, lockdown 4 in Melbourne, which means we can't go out past 8 o'clock. We can't film. We can't do any of that. So, you know, now it's time to collectivise our thoughts and get creative in other realms and writing and, yeah.
Yeah, no, good, yes. Definitely, we all have to sort of just really focus in on the things that we want to do and haven't done for a long time. So just refocus our thoughts and stay positive. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Yeah. All right. Okay. Have a great day.
Okay. Thanks, Marcella. See you, darling.
That's okay. Bye. Thanks. See you. Bye.
And without further ado, I bring on one of the baddest, sexiest female MCs in the game. Everybody, Lady Lash! Give it up!
My name is Crystal Klein. I'm also known as Lady Lash.
As an Indigenous woman and as a female hip-hop artist, because the conversation around Australian hip-hop can be very much around men.
Standing up for our rights as women. Opening up my soul to who am I as a person that's writing these lyrics, how am I going to spit and how am I going to come across. I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask questions. Trying to find more pieces of me. Understanding where I fit in this world, and I'm here and I have a story to tell.